So good afternoon, everyone. It's so wonderful. That's all right. It's News 7. We care. No, we care about it. I'm Debbie Hall. I'm the CEO here at YWCA. Thank you so much to all of you. And look at our community always showing up. We appreciate you. We are gathered here today to address a deeply troubling incident that occurred on Eureka Street involving members of our immigrant community and the Worcester Police Department. What unfolded was not just an overreach, it was a show of force that sent shockwaves through a neighborhood that should be able to rely on safety, dignity, and respect. Let us be clear, we cannot and will not allow our immigrant neighbors to be terrorized in the very place they call home. Worcester is a city built by generations of immigrants and working families. We are a community that should lift each other up, not one that instills fear through intimidation and aggression. The response from the Worcester Police Department, in this case, was disproportionate and unacceptable. It sends the wrong message to families who already live under the shadow of uncertainty. Law enforcement must protect, not provoke. They must serve and not scare. We stand united in demanding accountability, transparency, and real structural change. This is about more than one incident. This is about the values of a city that prides itself on being inclusive, compassionate, and just. Today, we reaffirm our commitment to building a community that cares for and protects all of its citizens, regardless of where they come from or what language they speak. Now, I would like to introduce someone who has been a steadfast advocate for justice, equity, and civil rights in Worcester, Fred Taylor, president of the Worcester branch of the NAACP.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, community, for showing up. We're going to need your help with pushing back and advocating for what's happened yesterday. It's hard to describe the militarized, overwhelming police response we witnessed on Eureka Street yesterday as anything other than egregious and overuse of force by federal and local authorities. The overwhelming resources allocated to that area in that operation yesterday was something resembling something out of a movie. And we shouldn't have that here in Worcester, and people shouldn't be treated that way. We saw both federal and Worcester officers descend on a family with a level of aggression that you would use when apprehending someone who's known to be dangerous and carrying weapons. And that's not acceptable here in Worcester. There was a daughter that was 80 pounds manhandled by authorities. That's total unacceptable. Yesterday, ICE showed up with masks. They were masked men. This is the United States of America. They showed up with masks on, hiding their identity. They're law enforcement. They have a right and a duty to identify themselves. And that wasn't a nice thing to do, to show up with masks. Those people were afraid. A lot of people in the community were afraid. What were they doing? Where are we headed? Where are we headed? And not only in Worcester, in this country, where are we headed? The Worcester police showed up yesterday with overwhelming numbers. That was totally uncalled for. Why? Why did they show up that way? And who were they there to protect? Our local police is not tasked to protect ICE. They're here to protect the people, and they should behave that way. The Department of Justice warned us about continued unchecked and excessive force, which we've seen on videos. Some of you folks who are from Worcester have seen the videos that became public at both the beer garden and during the George Floyd incident. We've all seen that. Repeatedly, we're seeing simple failures to de-escalate a crisis situation, but instead instigating escalated situations. And I think that show of force yesterday did that. We should be better than that. We should be better than that. And sadly, ICE arriving in Worcester and snatching people off the street is unfortunately no surprise. In order to move forward, the Worcester branch of NAACP is calling for a thorough investigation into this incident, calling on City Manager Batista, the mayor, and all city councilors to have some accountability and transparency, and we want to know why this happened and what they're going to do to prevent that from happening again. We need to have some real oversight and accountability. The Worcester branch of NAACP has repeatedly, for years, been calling for a civilian review board with subpoena powers. We really need that here in Worcester, so the community can feel confident that we have a voice on what's happening here.
Yeah.
Our community deserves better. Our police need to be serving all of our members in our community without bias, and we must stand together to face such troubling actions. We should stand together. I'm going to call on everyone here who's a Worcester resident to call your local city councilor, the mayor, and the city manager, and ask them, what are they going to do about it? Ask them what are they going to do about it. There are organizations that are in the community that are helping people learn how to prepare, unfortunately, for situations like this. They're offering trainings. If anyone's interested in getting those trainings, I know for sure that Neighbor to Neighbor is offering those trainings. If anyone's interested, there are representatives from Neighbor to Neighbor here, and if you like, you can talk to me and I'll point you in their direction. But the people need training, and the city needs to do better. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome up a champion, someone who's been in this community fighting for us for a very long time. He doesn't need to be introduced by a lot of folks in this room because they know who he is. At this time, I'd like to call on Vice Chair Councilor King to come up to speak.
So here we are again. We are in the heart of the Commonwealth. We are in the heart of the Commonwealth here in Worcester. And what we've seen is we've seen trauma inflicted on our community. Upon women, upon activists. We've had to really pull together. We know that we are under attack, as I repeatedly say, by executive order. We know that ICE, we know that the federal government is descending upon communities of color. We know this. Trauma saturates. And here in Worcester, you can feel it. From the community, from folks watching videos, and the family that's been forever impacted by all of this. I've called for a report outlining the scope, scale, and measure of our response as a city. It's important that we hold one another accountable. How the city responds to incidents that are rife and highly stressed and highly charged matters. And when there's a show of force, in those times, the response can be differing. I don't know if there was a social worker co-response. I can tell you I will call for that moving forward anytime we're responding like that. We had a young lady fighting for a family, a minor. And now she's in the system. I don't have all the answers. I don't. But I also know that all parties are impacted throughout this incident. Folks said we gotta do better, we do. We will. And what comes to mind is those officers that responded, they responded as trained. If we're gonna look for change, you have to look on what was expected of them when they arrived in numbers, what was expected of them when they showed up from their superiors, from their training, from their preparation. We needed to de-escalate a young person who lost her family in real time. And we perhaps could have got there with a little more patience. I'm not sure what's gonna happen moving forward to this family, the folks that are left, that remain. How does one sleep through the night with the not knowing? Trauma saturates, folks. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've only watched about 1 minute and 20 minutes of video. Tonight's the night that we'll go through that. But I've seen what I've seen. I've seen what I've seen, and I have serious questions. I want to repeat, individuals and families, friends, colleagues, co-workers, we have to make sure that our families are individually prepared and family prepared. Talk to them, have those conversations about the what ifs. Prepare guardianships, notes and letters, and if you need to get it stamped and signatized, then we do that. You have to have those conversations. Where do we go from here? I can tell you that the battle and the struggle is going to be on authenticity by us, the elected leaders. It's not about what we say, it's about what we do. We know that there's a lot of people who understand that people aren't fair. People aren't fair. And the best way to get through that is with knowledge and understanding of your rights, how you're protected by, or supposed to be protected by our Constitution. I expect that the city manager thoroughly reviews this. He is the chief conservator of peace here in the city of Worcester. And it's up to us as a city council, the office of the mayor, myself, the vice chairman, to ensure that happens. I believe that the police department responded the way they were trained. Might have been a couple of folks that stepped out of line, but they were following their training. So there's a flaw there. There's a flaw there. We talk about justice, talk about the words like equity. You have to get it through the system. And the system must respond to oversight. I'm going to call for enhanced oversight. We need civilian review boards here in the city of Worcester. And we have to engage with the police unions. Nothing's going to move without them. Nothing's going to move. But you have to push and you have to demand. So what's next? Folks are going to do their rapid response trainings. They're going to observe. They're going to document. They're going to do all those things. And we as a community have to continue to come together. We have the heart to do it. Will we have the political will? And will folks keep showing up? This is, once again, an absolute attack on people of color. This is an attack on people of color. And I have my daughter sitting here, and we're gonna fight for her and all the kids who are in our schools. We know that Worcester Public Schools right now, I just had conversations with administrators. They are vigilant and they are on point. They're gonna protect our kids. And lastly, it's essential that we take back the term common sense. It's common sense that we need to move forward. It's common sense that we need to push forward no matter what the political consequence. Thank you all for coming out. Very much appreciated.
And thank you all. I want to acknowledge school committee member Sue Mailman and Councilor Ajay, who were both on the ground yesterday at the site where this took place. And I want to invite up Senator Robert Kennedy and then Fred Taylor from NAACP, and Christian, if you can stay up. If you all have any questions, we're available to answer those now.
Do you have any, have you received any information about who this mother is that was taken into custody yesterday?
So I just want to say, that's really important information, right? But this situation is much broader than one family. This is an attack on all of us in Worcester. That's the way we see that. We want to kind of respect their privacy also, but this is bigger than that. That's one of the reasons I'm here. This is, yes, it was an assault on an individual, but this is really big. This is our community.
And I'll just say, you know, we know enough. We know that she was ripped from her family. We don't know where she is. Her family don't know where she is. And we don't know what that process will look like. Just a couple of weeks ago, I got a phone call from a family whose husband was from Liberia here for over 30 years, permanent asylum. He's been locked up for 3 to 4 months, waiting a trial date. I think we know enough.
And I just want to take the microphone to stand unequivocally with my community to thank the YW, the NAACP, Vice Mayor King for always stepping up and standing and lifting community. And I want to thank everyone in this room in our community that showed up yesterday, most importantly. For the storytellers, the media that's here, for everybody that's watching and paying attention, take this message. This is Worcester. That is Worcester, a community that shows up to stand for each other, to protect each other, to care for our residents, whether they've been here their whole lives or have just joined our community. And let's be clear, we are glad they are here. We will stand up, we will stand with them, and we will protect them. That is the story of Worcester. We know as a community, we have problems we have to fix with our own city leadership, with our own police department, and we're going to continue to have those conversations. And from the state perspective, I'm going to do what we can to support our city leadership that's stepping up and wants to lean into the conversation to do the work to say that this doesn't happen again in our community. But I want to make that clear, that the narrative that's going out there, our community that showed up, thank you. Thank you for being there, and thank you for caring for each other.
Any information on whether there was a warrant?
Can't hear the question.
Was there a warrant? I don't have that information.
No. I said it was a warrantless arrest when they put her into the vehicle.
Yeah, we were told that they refused to show any documents showing that they had a warrant, but we can't verify. If they didn't have one, they didn't show it. We don't have verification of that.
That'd be a great follow-up question for ICE.
Yeah. So, do you really think that Worcester Police is working with ICE?
Was it what?
I don't know what that intersection is like right now. I think that's part of the evaluation phase that we're in. We know that based on court decisions, police department is not to interfere or support ICE actions. In full transparency, once again, I haven't looked at all the videos, but I've looked at enough. Looked a little bit, only a couple minutes, and there's certainly some questions with respect to the response.
The city said that they had no idea that this raid was happening, and the police department doubled down and said the same thing. Just your take on that, and the police department also mentioned that people were getting physical with federal agents. So what would have been the appropriate police response for that?
That's a question for the police. I will say this. We are in times where the violation of people's rights is brazen. And it's going to require intersection of our state, local, and federal partners. We're in Massachusetts. And anyone who thinks that all politics aren't local is out of touch. That's what I have on that. What's up, Louis? I don't have any other information as far as that goes. This is Louis Ojeda, District 4 Councilor for the City Council.
Question for Councilmember King, or Vice Chairman Councilor King. City Mayor, the Mayor, Joseph Betty, has announced that he wants a change in ICE policy from the City Manager and the Chief of Police. He's looking for a written policy in regards that, quote, make sure that we respond while also not harming anyone. Do you support efforts for changing ICE policy?
I don't know what the ICE policy is, so I can't speak to that. I can say that policy is less effective than your actual practice. So you can have a policy, but if you're not practicing that, if you're not operationalizing around that policy, if you're not staffing around that policy, if you're not holding people accountable around that policy through the infrastructure of that institution, it's just a piece of paper.
Can you shed some light on, I guess, the father of that family that was taken the day before?
I don't have any information on the father outside of, it's very clear that those young women and that grandchild's family has been decimated.
And they live on Eureka Street?
I don't have that information.
Do you have any message for ICE if they intend to come back to Worcester anytime soon?
I can certainly say Worcester will not cower. We know that there's elements out there that will revel in the idea that folks of that ilk will come here and focus upon us. But we're going to stand up. We're not bending the knee.
So we made the correction, ICE is here.
ICE is here.
They come back.
ICE is here, yes.
Do you have any information on another raid that may have happened today?
I do not.
I have a question. I'm a foster parent, right? You work
Yes.
at DCF. Is there any way that we can help the kids? Do we know if the kids need diapers, wipes, clothing? Are we able to get that information or support you?
Yeah, I would defer to the community groups. I think at this time, a lot of folks are really, even though we're here in the Commonwealth of Mass, folks are a little iffy with respect to government outreach. I think that the City Council and the Mayor as a collective body do the best we can, but there's some questions there. I think that we need more intersection with the community and our HHS folks and what have you can join in, but I think it has to be community-led at this time.
Okay, and can we just add that we have some very real ways people can help, so I just want to give you a...
Well, that's really my question, gentlemen. I mean, the assertion that somehow this wasn't foreseeable, I find really hard to swallow. You've been told this is what ICE is going to do. There was a commitment made by leadership of the city that there wouldn't be support of activities like this, and yet when it came to pass, supposedly keeping the piece wasn't protecting a community from what seems like a warrantless detention or a warrantless arrest, but rather it was on facilitating the arrest and keeping the ICE agents safe, not the community members safe. And so I guess my question to you all is, this shouldn't be a surprise. There have been statements over and over a number of years that there needs to be more oversight. As you said, the Oversight Council, that we need to have increased protections as policy and better training. And yet we're told at a city council meeting that there's voluntary training in terms of de-escalation and that should be sufficient. It's not sufficient. It was foreseeable. And so my question to you is, how do we go about holding the city accountable? And in particularly the city manager who comes out and makes a statement that somehow this was normative and that people were out of line. I appreciate you letting me share these concerns, but we have a system right now in the city where the city manager seems pretty unaccountable, where policy doesn't seem transparent. And this community here needs to know what we can do to support you and also to reclaim some of the power that we should have to protect civil rights, to advance human rights, and to be a community in a democratic, responsive, accountable government.
I'm not going to speak for Councilor Ojeda with respect to the city manager. We are a planning form of government. It requires that the elected officials, the legislative branch, hires and holds to account the city manager. It's as much a reflection on us as a council of what's going on as it is anyone else. And in terms of what we need to do as a council is we have to go to work in a way that gets rid of all of the petty politics and really talks about focusing on what the issues are and not personalizing that stuff. You know, it really gets pretty petty in there. And the fact is the city manager is accountable to the council. That's the way the charter is written. And if we're not going to hold to that, we need to change the charter.
I apologize for being late. I just got out of work. You know, what I will say is, and I know we've all seen it. First of all, thank you all for being here. This is obviously very important to everyone. It was tough to see. Right? We all have children and families, and it was really disheartening. It was really tough until now. But I want to make sure that the Latino community knows, you know, I'm here. We're here to support you. You know, you may feel as though you're being targeted. Obviously, it's happening, and we're there. But there are agencies out there that I want to reach out to now, and you know, LABO, Latin American Institute, Madi's here from EBS. We need to come together, right, and be there to support each other. You know, so, I work with a lot of youth. I work with a lot of students at schools, in my schools, who come from all over the world. And some of them probably just didn't make it to school today because they're really nervous and scared of what's going on out there. How do we get out there and tell them it's a safe space? And that's something that on City Council that I had mentioned. You know, we know this is coming. We know this is happening. What are we going to do as councilors, and what are we going to do as a city to make sure that the places that they can go to are still going to be safe for them? So right now, we're in a situation that I agree. That's, I'm sorry I didn't know your name, but yes, that's on us as councilors to figure out how do we create policies and hold everyone accountable, you know, the city manager and everyone as well. So I'm here, we're here to support you guys, and you know, we'll take this feedback. This is important for us to hear this, and you know, Councilor King is invested in this. You know, you have your Robin Kennedy here, a senator, and Fred Taylor from NAACP. So it's united front, and that's what I'm about. I'm born and raised in the city of Worcester. We're going to do this together. So thank you.
Let me just add in the comment to that too, that for everyone in this room, a reminder, elections matter and elections have consequences. We're in this place, and I want to refresh, this started by what was unleashed and what has been unleashed by the federal government. I don't want us to lose sight of that. And we will continue to step up to that. We will continue to push back against the unlawful, the unjust, the unethical, the immoral practices that this president is bestowing on our communities. That's where it started. We have accountability that we have to take in our community as well, but we want to be crystal clear of where this starting and what we as a state, as a nation, have to push back against. And that is the consequences of an election. And we know that elections matter at all levels of government, and there's another one coming up in November.
So when I spoke earlier, I offered a call to action for everyone to reach out and call their city councilor, the district at-large city councilor, the mayor, and the city manager. I also want to take it a little bit further. I was asked by the former chair of the Human Rights Commission, or we were asked, what can we do? What can we do? There's a lot we can do. This is really powerful to have everyone here. That's really powerful. But what's more important and more powerful than that is, go to the polls and vote. Find someone who's on our side, someone who's going to stand up for the stuff that we stand here for today, and go to the polls and get them in office. That's what's going to change things. We have these three standing here. Know who's here, right? Know who's standing with us here today. Know that, right? And when you see the others who aren't here, you should ask them, where were you? Where were you? So this is going to be it. I'm sorry, yes. We have the people's champ here. We got to give the people's champ a few words.
Councilor King as our next mayor. I wasn't planning on speaking. But I want to say a few words. Somebody asked, what's the message for ICE? The message for ICE is get out of our city. And the message that I want to remind us of, as my good friend Dalda Roche from Neighbor to Neighbor, and I would like to invite their team to come up here. Because those folks were a rapid response people on the ground that are doing the hard work of showing up for communities that have been working for many, many, many weeks and many months. And I just want to make sure that you all know who they are. And I want to give them the ability to tell us what the call to action is. I want to say one last thing, and my last thing to say is that to watch a family torn apart in my district, it shouldn't matter what district it is, in any street of our city. It is not only inhumane, it should be unacceptable from the people at the top to the people in the middle to every single one of us. And so the message to our city manager, our police department, and every single member of this community is what the response yesterday from the federal government and the police department was completely unacceptable. Let's not let that be the last response that we see. I want to make sure that these folks here have the last word, if possible, because they are the ones who are doing the hard work.
Councilor, can I ask you a question?
Thank you. I am proud that you are my city councilor. Thank you. My name is Dalida Harsha. I am the executive director of Neighbor to Neighbor. I am an immigrant from Cabo Verde, formerly undocumented, and also been in the front line for many years working on immigration justice. This is not a new issue, right? This is, ICE is not going to come here. ICE has been here, right? And we were at the incident that happened yesterday. And let's be very clear. Yesterday, there was a real collaboration between police and ICE, which means the question that you should be asking is, who's going to reimburse the city for the resources that the city put into the incident yesterday? Because as far as I'm concerned, the city does not have a 287G agreement with ICE, right? That means that they're not going to get reimbursed for those tax dollars that comes out of your pocket for what happened yesterday. And we don't want the 287G agreement. So you asked what the call to action is. So we are we also a core member of a LUCA network, a statewide immigrant justice network that has been hosting trainings around rapid response, know your rights, family preparedness, and a whole bunch of other trainings that is needed in this moment, because this is not the first time immigrants are under attack. And if we don't stand up, this will continue to be the narrative, right? And it's enough. It's enough to say that we're gonna stand here. It's enough to ask elected official for a statement. That is not gonna protect our families. So enough is enough. We need action, right? And we need action from every step. Right now, we have also a governor who's saying that Massachusetts is not a sanctuary state. We already know that. Doesn't mean that we don't protect our members of the community that have been working here. That is a fabric of what makes this community so beautiful. So if you want to get involved, we have a hotline, which the number is 617-370-5023, 617-370-5023. If you see any sightings of ICE, please call this number. We are coming to bear witness to the violations of human rights. We are coming to bear witness to make sure that there is due process and to show up for the members of the communities that are being ripped apart on the week that we're supposed to celebrate Mother's Day. So please, mothers, everybody, stand up with those mothers that you heard their cries. Like that should be your call to action.
Again, thank you all for coming out, for caring about the community. If you happen to park in the parking lot at the library, go inside, they'll validate $1 off. But every little penny helps in this economy. So if you can do that, again, we appreciate you all coming out and listening to us around this very serious issue in Worcester. Thank you so much. Have a good day.